In 2021, SEC set out a new strategic plan to triple our impact. We called for an evidence-based impact and working in an integrated way that ensured our clients and our foundations were sustained and strong. Yet in only 3 years, so much has changed. We've looked at working from home, we've got more people doing online meetings, and also coming out of the lockdowns and the COVID pandemic, we've gone straight into a cost of living crisis. We've seen changes in legislation from reporting obligations on climate change, modern slavery, child protection, just to name a few. And while SECL has a strategy that's monitored, what I've seen is having a strategy is not enough. They will perform better by aligning strategic approaches to the evolving environment. That the strategy needs a strategy. And so the next stage is I want to share what I've learned on the way and why. So every organization has a life cycle, a startup phase, a growth phase, a maturity, decline, and renewal stage. We are currently poised at the end of the maturity stage. Acting now can jump to renewal stage. But there's lots of things we need to learn as well. We can grow, remain relevant, and cement long-term sustainability and not fall into a stall-out situation where there's a drop in growth and a drop in surpluses or fund or profits. There are also insights successful organizations can sense, seize, and transform as they go during these stages. For example, even some of the largest organizations like Microsoft, one of the biggest companies, faced this dilemma in 2000 when Bill Gates stepped down as CEO after 2 decades of record growth and market dominance, where that some areas had 95% market share. Yet they were about to see a significant change in that sector, with the organizations like Google, Meta, and Apple's coming to the fore. So Microsoft had the opportunity to rapidly change their technology in the face of consumer demands and trends as well. Yet instead of falling decline, they embraced the changes in cloud computing, invested in AI, revamped its offerings, and have remained a tech giant ever since. So it's possible even for the largest organizations to evolve and change. You've just got to know where you're up to and where you're at. So when looking at that, I thought, well, where does SECL sit? Well, it sits in, if you look at the predictability and malleability matrix here, we see ourselves as visionary. In other words, we know most of our issues. We know client demand is driven by cost of living pressures. And through programs and advocacy, we can make a positive change. Yet we don't have a plan to address the challenges or even realize that those challenges are also opportunities. When we look at the three predominant challenges over the next 5 to 10 years, the solutions are also within those challenges and can ultimately become strengths for us. So, looking at the first challenge we've got, opportunity, is evidence-based impact. We've seen a significant shift in how people funders consider impact and the importance of demonstrating impact, whether this be for compliance or for competition from reduced government funding, so we can show ourselves as being relevant. In other words, the old days of sponsorships and large checks and ribbon cutting are fading very quick. Yet with ESG principles being widely accepted and more governments and corporates looking at their supply chain for mandatory reporting on climate change, anti-slavery, they're also seeing it not just from compliance, they're seeing it for reputation and growth opportunities. And while we might be exempt from reporting directly, there's a risk of missed opportunities if we don't embrace and elevate ESG principles. As funders not only report on those supply chains, but they also see is that if we don't do it, we may be ineligible. The opportunities are massive. For example, BDO Australia estimates ESG assets will hit $50 trillion by 2025. So to thrive, not just survive, we must just see the benefits of going beyond compliance. We must see some of the benefits as being more than that. For example, we can attract new business opportunities and partners by providing competitive advantages with ESGs. We can add to our reputation, align to our values, help also attract and retain staff and volunteers. There's so many added benefits as how we look at these things. Ultimately, through understanding our stakeholders, their needs, and the impact through monitoring of emerging political and economic factors, will better inform operations and reduce risks and seize opportunities. So in many ways, the opportunities are in front of us. The next challenge we have is sustainability, which we know is a buzzword. We know it's been pushed around by the greenwashing of it. Yet sustainability for SECL is about its people. the teams and the work we do. To retain, attract, and develop people takes time, effort, and resources. High unemployment doesn't correlate to high immediate demand or labour supply, as many skills take time to come into the market. Government, including the Victorian body, Victorian Chamber of Commerce, one of the peak bodies, released a report recently saying that there's a skill shortage in our sector that has not been seen since the 1960s, with many people looking at how they will come into the sector, or many barriers to the sector because of slowing of migration or international students, but also people looking at, as a result of COVID, changing their work practices and their priorities. We've also seen a huge spike in demand post-COVID of over 300%. And we're seeing more staff at risk of burnout. A recent staff survey showed that staff satisfaction went from 90% to 75% in 12 months. And there was also a spike of sick leave of 30% post-COVID. There's also a growing concern that after a wave of crisis, after 3 years, we're seeing that burnout. There are varying views, of course, of the impact of constant change and pressures on staff and well-being, which is sometimes seen as even harder in frontline services and non-for-profit sector. Yet, so we need to look at how we plan our labour force, because we can't actually pay for corporate staff or government rates. Yet more people from these sectors are looking for values-aligned work. We should tap into our points of difference, such as alignment to ESG principles. For example, we specialise in financial inclusion areas like financial counselling. And when banks are recording record profits, and the image that this sets during a cost of living crisis, they'll need to demonstrate a social license. And we should maximise this opportunity to not just tap into volunteers, but also learn from their tech, the emerging idea, finance. Many of the skills we can't afford, yet they can actually mitigate risk and improve systems for clients and reduce pressures for staff. The answers begin to loop into each other when you start seeing that one links into the other, their strengths within each other. The last concern or risk is really opportunity, is to be true to our values and work as one circle. We need to break the silos and work as one in the interest of community. Over time, we've seen services designed around systems, not the needs of people. For example, most of our clients are culturally and linguistically diverse, with English as their third or fourth language. And more services are being pushed online, including jobs boards. So they struggle to navigate the digital divide and miss out on work opportunities. Yet equally, our funders have contracts with social procurement needs and can't find cold people to fill jobs. Yet as we work as one circle, we can serve all parties. Not only serve our purpose and mission, but also reduce demand, reduce pressure on our teams, providing value add to our partners through their alignment to ESG principles, and attract additional funding sources. Again, there's a circular benefit through working as one. It helps our clients, helps staff sustainability, and demonstrates our impact. It's also known that organizations can decline in their life cycle when staff and management focus on individual needs instead of needs of the clients and the organization, which over time can destroy the functionality and feasibility of the organization. We can avoid this. We know the answers. They're actually in front of us in many ways, but it's how we approach these situations. So what I've been thinking a lot about is what I see increasingly is the importance of change management. That this diagram shows that change management is the center of everything that we're trying to achieve. We can't assume that people fear change. It's more likely they fear a sudden change or not being brought along. Many of us like sameness, view change from a gains and losses lens. I'm going to lose something or gain something, which is known as prospect theory. Yet there are ways to include people along the journey of change, such as using Kotter's 8 steps that focus on the importance of winning over the hearts and minds. We should adapt these principles in the planning and embrace the challenges of impact, sustainability, and working as one. There are plenty of tools out there like Kotter's. There's plenty of learnings. We have the ability. It's how we approach the ability. Like this diagram, which I thought was a bit of fun. Many of our client clues are in the future, both the opportunities and threats that sit in front of us. Inability to see, or management's inability to see and understand the current phase, can result in the organization becoming frozen in its present state and ultimately failing. Through investigating these challenges, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on my needs and who I am, how I go about things. I've also reflected on the journey and the learnings, including concepts like agency theory and how it applies to our work, like and for vulnerable communities, how change is about the people, not so much the process. Again, as this cartoon shows, looking at situations differently can depend on our interests. As a manager and a leader, I'm curious. And as a servant leader, I guess that's my aim to serve the needs of the team and the organization. I frequently, as a leader, use adaptive leadership styles like having adult conversation and a nurturing talent. I believe that my awareness of the challenges and my mindset is ideal for leading the next phase of this organization. And to show you this, I've looked at some of the strengths I need, but also some of the weaknesses and improvements. Upon completing the MBA and completing research in the challenges and opportunities, I believe I'm the best person to take the settle into the next phase and thrive. I'm also aware of these development needs as a new CEO, such as further understanding digitalization and AI. And as a people leader, ensuring I bring the team along and that no organization can excel without committed and connected team and leader. Thank you for your time today, board. I look forward to discussing all this further.